Oh, let me tell you something. Busting makes me feel good.
Start.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate the movies. I'm your host, Jay Light. The cue to come in right now, I appreciated that. I felt very motivated by that.
Yeah.
My guest, Julian Fernandez.
Hi.
Hi.
To camera. Hey, everybody.
To camera. That's Julian over there.
It's me.
Hi, Julian.
Hey, Jay.
It's great to see you. Julian is a wonderful comedian, roast battle royalty,
Aw.
impressions, voiceovers.
Does it all.
Does it all. A real jack of all trades. And I'm very excited to have you on, especially you've got a new special that just came out.
Yes.
Tell us
Got a
about
new
that.
special. It's called 30. Julian Fernandez 30. Filmed it on my 30th birthday over at Third Wheel over here in Hollywood.
Great
YouTube.
venue.
Yeah, great venue. Great setup. We had a great crowd. Great comics opening. And I love how it came out as a first special and just doing it for 10 some years now. Like,
That's a good chunk of time to record something at.
yeah.
10
It was
years.
it's also just nice just to put something out into the world that's like, oh, I made this.
I made this, and I don't have to worry about doing this material ever again.
Yeah.
I can just cruise
Yeah.
and not worry about it. Well, you should definitely go check out Julian's special.
Mhm.
Julian is a great comic, but also really bad taste in movies, as it turns out, because you, for some reason, willingly watched the Happytime Murders.
Yeah.
The Happytime Murders, a movie that literally, as I was coming in here today to record this in the studio, there were people in here who had just done a table read, and I mentioned, "Oh, we're talking about the Happytime Murders on my podcast today," and there was a gal who went, "Oh, I've never heard of that," and then her boyfriend, husband, I'm not sure, partner,
Confidant.
her little side piece,
Right.
said, "No, we watched that together." And she said, "Did we?" This movie came out in 2018, an American adult puppet crime comedy film, hopefully the only time in history that string of words will ever come together.
Hopefully.
Directed by Brian Henson, written by Todd Berger, from a story by Berger and D. Austin Robertson. Sorry, D. Film stars Melissa McCarthy, Bill Beretta, Joel McHale, Maya Rudolph, Leslie David Baker, and Elizabeth Banks. Set in a world where humans and living puppets coexist, the film follows a private puppet investigator and a human police detective who must solve a murder spree of retired sitcom stars.
Really quick, before we go, is this like the most random movie synopsis that you've ever had on this podcast?
Shockingly, this is one of the more coherent movie synopses.
Really?
This actually, I mean, I think my thesis with this movie, without going too deep into it right now, is that this movie could have actually been really good. Like the plot, the log line, I'll watch that movie. That sounds interesting.
The way it was sold, the way it was pitched, the way it was advertised was, I think, done fairly right.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably why you went to go see it. You were intrigued by the premise of
I love
R-rated puppet movie.
It's twofold. I love the Muppets.
Okay.
I love the Jim Henson Company. Dark Crystal. I wish they did a second season of their TV show because it was so good. Any of the Muppet movies, Muppet Treasure Island, all those great movies. I can watch them even as an adult, as a kid. I can enjoy.
Muppet caper.
Oh my God.
Muppets Take Manhattan.
Muppets in Space.
The Muppets.
The Muppets. The Muppets Most Wanted. All of them really, really good movies.
Yeah. Oscar-winning movies.
This one, not even a good movie.
No. This movie, it was a box office bomb, received mostly negative reviews from critics for its humor, performances, and story, though the puppetry received praise.
The puppetry is amazing.
Well,
the best part of the movie is the end credits, not because the movie's over, but because they have like instead of a blooper reel, they'd show like them actually filming the movie.
Yeah.
And you see the puppeteers doing their thing,
And
which is
that's
the coolest part.
I watched the credits for this movie, and I actually legitimately for a moment, and I never feel like this on this podcast, I for a moment felt bad about the fact that we're about to shit all over this movie because you saw how much joy they were having on set, and you don't think sometimes you've worked on enough projects, I'm sure, where you're like, oh, this is going to be bad when you're working on it, and you can feel it's going to be bad.
Oh yeah,
they didn't think this was going to be bad.
no, they were having the time of their
They were
life.
having the time of their lives. Everybody was cracking up, crying, laughing, improvising, having a great time. And you can see that in the credits. You can see the joy that was still palpable in the filming of this.
I wish that level of fun translated to the audience.
Same. Because unfortunately, it was a box office bomb. It grossed $27.5 million against a $40 to $47 million budget. Received 6 nominations at the 39th Golden Raspberry Awards. It was nominated for Worst Picture, Worst Director,
Accurate.
Worst Actress, which it won from Melissa McCarthy.
Much deserved. Congratulations, Melissa.
She also was double nominated for Life of the Party, which came out the same year. Let's see who else.
Oh,
yeah.
We can go on a whole section about Melissa McCarthy because I have my own beef with her. Not personal.
Worst Supporting Actor for Joel McHale.
Yep.
Worst Screen Combo for any 2 actors or puppets in the Happytime Murders.
Yep.
And it was let's see, was there anything else it was nominated for? No, that's it. But yeah, it's bad.
It's a bad movie.
It's egregiously bad.
I wanted when I first was going into it, I wanted to enjoy the movie. I genuinely was excited to see it. I was like, cool, puppets, rated R, Jim Henson Company. This sounds like it's gonna be a blast. Went in. Minute 1 is just you just get the feeling it's like, oh, this is not gonna be good.
It's so actually here's I felt kind of differently because I had faith in this movie, really ill-placed faith.
But you just saw it.
This is my first time.
This was your first time.
Yeah, this is my first time. This is this morning.
Yeah.
This is the second thing I did. The first thing I did this morning when I woke up, Julian, was I took my cat to the vet. The second thing I did was watch this movie.
And the vet was probably the funniest part of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Hilarious trip to the vet. This sobering in comparison. I watched this movie, and there's the premise is laid out pretty clearly at the beginning of the movie in terms of thematically. It's going to be, you think, a movie where it's real life, but puppets are every other race besides white people.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, this is an interesting concept. And they have a couple of decent jokes sprinkled in at the very beginning. Like I did laugh out loud at a couple parts of literally I think one of the first lines in the movie was it's the old puppet dancing in front of the street in front of Phil's, the detective's
he's
office.
dancing on the street on the sidewalk. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's dancing, and he says, I actually wrote it down, and I can't believe that I didn't have my notes physically on. Oh no, they're in my back. They're in my backpack. Where did I put? Hold on.
Someone get the
pause.
team. Where's my assistant?
Where's my assistant?
Go.
See, this is the problem when I don't have interns on the podcast.
Darlene.
Just slyly off camera hand me my notebook. All this is staying in, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, I hope so.
Shout out to Melanie, my wonderful show clip producer, who's going to listen to this, and I hope you laugh quietly to yourself, Melanie. So he says the puppet says, "What's happening on the show?" The puppet says,
I brought you a puppet movie. That's what happened.
Can you spare a penny? My wife's dead. It's completely, that's the thing. It's a throwaway joke.
The throwaway jokes are the funniest jokes, but they're not highlighted properly. Like,
Right.
I mean, the fact that they are throwaway jokes, it's funny.
Yeah.
But that's a bad sign.
I stopped taking notes very early on in this movie. I took that was my first note where I was like, oh, that's funny. The second thing I said was when he goes to the puppet porn store and the cashier says something about being fully NSA compliant, which also very funny.
Yeah.
And
again, the casual throwaway, if you don't think about it, if you don't think hard about it, those lines are the funniest lines, but they are so far and in between in this movie.
Right. Those are the only ones that I wrote down.
Yeah.
After that, my notes is blank. I wrote down one other thing. I wrote down conceptually this is interesting, but I don't buy that it'll pay off. It didn't.
It did not.
And then the other sentences I wrote down. Locked from the outside, which doesn't make... This is about in reference to when the brother gets murdered. And there's a door that's locked from the outside.
I didn't even
at his
think
house.
of that. Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
It's not even like a door. It's a
deadbolt.
It's a
on a thing. Why would you do that from the outside where it can easily be clipped?
Yeah.
And
then
stupid.
And not only that, who did that? Who locked it?
Who locked it? Who locked it? Who
It's just
unlocked
him and
it?
it's him and this lady that he's entertaining. And
I don't know.
I didn't even that.
It doesn't make any sense.
This is how much I did not enjoy this movie. That all logic stuff just went right over my head. And I was just like,
And it's hard to criticize a puppet movie for being logically unsound,
right?
But that's what I'm gonna do. I also just wrote down after that egregiously unfunny, and then. How can Joel McHale suspend her? This is in reference to when Melissa McCarthy's character got
he's
suspended.
not the chief of police.
He's not the chief of police. And then the last thing I wrote down is, oh no, in all caps. And I don't even know what that was for. But those are all of my notes on this movie.
Oh no.
Jules.
I'm really curious to see. I really wonder what that oh no was.
I will probably get to it.
Probably.
But I am curious. So you watched this for the first time. You were very excited. And then how did you feel? You felt right from the jump. You said that you weren't on board.
I remember it being advertised. Like I said, I remember it being advertised as like, this is all no Sesame, all street. Like it was like advertised like this is
God.
like
that's right. I forgot that was a tagline for this
That's on the
movie.
poster. Yeah. I was like, oh, this is fantastic. One of my favorite musicals of all time is Avenue Q, which is
a puppet musical.
And on their poster, it like all No Sesame All Street.
Yep.
It's full warning, full puppet nudity.
Right. They have a song called "The Internet Is for Porn."
And for porn, you can be as loud as the hell you want, where two puppets are fucking.
Everyone's a little bit racist.
Oh my god, I love it. It's really a little bit racist.
Avenue Q is a brilliant musical.
I wish they made this. I wish they made Avenue Q rather than this because and also like I think the appeal of a lot of the Muppet movies and a lot of puppet movies when you have live actors in it. Is they're not acknowledging that they are puppets.
Right.
This movie right off the jump is like, puppets are second-class citizens.
Yes.
They're scum.
Yeah.
Hey, filth face. It's like, whoa, what
Hey,
the
you big old blue pair of socks.
I think just that line where he says like, unless you're a puppet, then life is real tough for you. And it's just, I don't need this racial undertone. I don't need that in the movie.
Where puppets are all the races.
Yeah.
That's not white.
We just don't like multicolored.
Nah. Can you imagine I mean, this movie already pretty edgy, quote unquote, for like 2018. Can you imagine if this got pushed to like 2020? You know they would have had a George Floyd puppet murder joke happening in this movie. You know they would have.
Yeah.
They would have done it. And that actually I would have appreciated because I feel like that means that's like taking a stand that this version of the movie didn't do.
Yeah, because the puppet violence and that character that you really liked, whose wife died, these kids come up, they rip his eye out, and then he just plops it back in. So it's like there's not, unless like you're ripping apart these puppets, there's not really any stakes to what happens to them.
You know something that just occurred to me too? So they rip a puppet's eye out at the very beginning of the movie, right?
That I just said that.
Exactly. And then literally, not even 10 minutes later, maybe 15 minutes later, they have some pretty brutal puppet murders, right? They have the shotgun puppets. The puppets are getting blown up by a shotgun.
Yeah.
And then they have a puppet literally get ripped apart by dogs. And the people who are like the crime scene investigators in those scenes, they're like grossed out by this. They're like puking.
I wish they were puking. I remember when they walk into the porn shop, or when it's the porn shop crime scene or whatever. There's a guy who's just like, he's like has his hand over his mouth. There's a running joke on this show, Angie Tribeca. It was like
the super crazy parody cop show.
Yeah,
right?
so
With
it's
Rashida
like
Jones.
parodying all these cop.
It's very Naked Gun.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like every opening, or was it this one? They always had like two running jokes where it opened up with some guy screaming, but then there's another one where if they're at a crime scene, no matter what the crime is, there's a guy throwing up.
Okay.
Like literally.
Yes.
Like,
I do remember this.
You see it coming out. I wish that was the thing, because that would be like just have it be an extra in the background. I would have died laughing, because that's like something I would notice is like, oh, that extra is just throwing up.
It's just a funny little moment. But even just like from the logic perspective, if you're going to have people who are like horrified at puppet guts, and then you're also going to have kids who are like, we're going to rip out your eye, old man, and throw it around. There's no analog there.
Yeah.
Like those kids should not be as okay with ripping out a puppet's eye as they are, if we're also expected to believe that we live in a world where at the mere sight of fluff from inside of a dead puppet, you're going to throw up. It doesn't make any goddamn sense.
I also just don't like that they refer to them as puppets, because the point of a puppet is you have someone operating it. There's in this movie, the logic is nobody's operating these puppets. These puppets are just like
existing.
They just exist. They just sentient puppets wandering around with no hand or anything, but they're still classified as puppets. That's not a puppet then. That's a crime against nature. I don't know what it is. It's not a puppet though.
It's God really playing with God. It's a mistake. The basic plot of this movie, for those of you who somehow missed this one in theaters,
you're the lucky ones.
You are. It's a movie, if you're also like that lady who was in here earlier and forgot you watched this. Plot twist. So this is a movie about a world where puppets coexist with humans. Phil Phillips is our intrepid hero. He's a PI. He was the first puppet cop and the last.
And doesn't that seem like always like the cop, the detective kind of story? Like, you were the first blank cop ever, and then you squandered it. You really screwed the pooch on that. I don't know what this character is. You really screwed the pooch on that, and now you're just a bummy PI drinking your way to a slow
I don't know
grave.
what character you are in this. Are you like the investigative journalist? Are you the cop? Are you the?
Hey, listen here. I'm just trying to get the scoop.
Are you the vixen coming in with the smoky voice? He's a private investigator now. He's got a human secretary. He's hired by puppet client Sandra to investigate some blackmail. And then in this blackmail investigation, he uncovers there's somebody going around murdering the Happytime gang, who's basically like a puppet sitcom. I don't know what its equivalent would be in real world terms.
You'd have to be because they even put a mention like this is the first
first puppet
like it's
show
it's
that
like
went
their
big.
first
So it's like the Cosby show.
Yeah, it's like their first interracial show that everyone got on board. Yeah, it's probably the Cosby show. Yeah,
it's like Cosby or Webster or something.
Yeah.
But then you also have Melissa McCarthy, who is Phil's old partner, who has a grudge against him because she testified against him because he allegedly refused to shoot a puppet because he's a puppet, and no puppet on puppet violence. We can't have that. Puppets looking out for their puppets. Ridiculous. All of it is ridiculous.
Yeah. Which you kind of hope for when it's a movie with puppets.
You hope for that.
But also you want the ridiculousness to kind of make sense in a way.
So, and that's the thing. It's like it hits you. I saw a review of this movie, and I don't remember who it was from. I'm gonna pull it up and see if I can track it down.
Yeah.
They made actually, here we go. Oh, hey, this is a former guest, William Bibbiani, who talked about this.
Okay.
The Happytime Murders may not be a timeless classic on par with Roger Rabbit, but it's more interesting and nuanced than its raunchy, violent humor suggests. The puppeteering is fantastic. The characters are uninteresting. Although its story isn't ingenious, the jokes are usually funny. Now, I don't agree with that last part if you're listening. But there is a lot of it's really raunchy, it's really violent, and it's really like it's getting all of its shock stuff. Oh, this is I think the element of the review from Andrew Barker of Variety Magazine, which makes up a little bit of what I was trying to get at just now. I just saw Bibbs doing the thing. I was like, oh my God, I know that guy. He was on the show. He defended Street Fighter. He would. I don't know if he would ever defend this movie, but
I don't know if you're defending Street Fighter, you might defend this movie.
it should come as no surprise that Happy Time comes up farcically short as a metaphor for racism, but it's most
Right, first sentence, nailed
great
it.
sentence.
Yeah.
But its most fatal miscalculation is the decision to front load so many of its crassest set pieces in the first 15 or 20 minutes, depriving the rest of the film of the shock value that's its entire raison d'etre. So I think that there's elements of truth to both of these reviews, right?
Yeah.
I think it is more interesting and nuanced than you would expect from a movie that opens with a puppet cow getting jerked off by a puppet alien, and then
An octopus.
An octopus. Sorry. Well, octopuses are kind of aliens.
That's true.
All sea creatures,
But especially octopuses.
especially octopuses, octopi. Cephalopods, don't like them.
Yeah.
Can't stand them. They're the way I feel the way about cephalopods, the way that people in this movie feel about puppets. Freaky. Get them out of here. I wouldn't trust
love
an
'em.
octopus cop, would you?
I don't know. I like octopuses.
What are they hiding with all those arms, huh?
I don't.
Why you got so many arms? Why can't you be like a human being? You got 2 arms.
Whoa.
You gonna pull out what are you gonna pull out 6 guns? Fucking freaks.
Well, the other 2 are fucking my wife.
2 arms to fuck my wife with? You putting your tentacles in the holes, huh? What you doing? You friggin' ink splatterer? I don't want to go down the route of coming up with a slur for the squid
Because eventually
community.
they are going to come out of the ocean and be like, hey, we're sentient now. We want to be part of society. And then this is going to come up.
I did find out part of my biggest Spotify listenership is on the Marianas Trench, and I don't want to piss them off. Okay, I do think that you've got a movie, like I said, where you've got a cow getting jerked off by an octopus, where you have a literal set piece that revolves around puppet cum.
Yeah.
Like a long puppet cum sequence.
I will say that is where I laughed the most, though.
I laughed the least at that part.
I
think I coughed. I think I negative laughed at that part. All of the times I would have laughed at seeing it also didn't help that I just saw Carrot Top the other night, and Carrot Top does the exact same thing but with a Pee Wee Herman doll, and it's way funnier.
Okay.
When you see puppets are gonna fuck on camera, you're like, there's gonna be silly string. That's gonna be the puppet cum.
Yeah.
And that was exactly what happened.
I do think it went on too long, but I do like where it goes, he stops, and then it goes again. I don't know what it is. I just like
You just like seeing puppet cum.
Maybe that's my thing.
If this movie was 90 minutes of puppet cum and 1 minute of story,
and we'd be talking about a different movie.
We'd be talking about a totally different movie. This would be Julian defends the Happytime Murders.
Listen, give puppet cum a chance, guys.
That's what you should call your next special.
Give puppet cum a chance.
Boy, oh boy. I don't think that the problem is that they didn't have like a reason for this movie to exist. Like it's strangely enough, it has a decent concept.
Yeah.
The idea of doing a mapped onto the genre of like a hard-boiled detective movie.
Like film noir.
Yeah,
just with
film
puppets.
noir with puppets. There's something there.
Yeah.
Right? Who Framed Roger Rabbit did it with cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's something to it. I also really like the angle of having puppets, like the element of like, we're going to comment on racism by having it be puppets that we're talking about. That's interesting. That's a concept that I wish that they had explored more instead of going down a bunch of puppet cum. You know, spray that all over the walls. Spray your commentary all over the walls. Not your puppet jism.
Puppet jism. That's the new religion I'm going to start.
Hey, puppet jism. But we also need to talk about, because I think we actually kind of disagree on this a little bit. We got to talk about Melissa McCarthy.
Okay.
The worst actress winner for this movie.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Here's the thing. I think Melissa McCarthy is a very funny actress. Bridesmaids, I think across the board everyone can agree that's her at her peak funniest. That's when she kind of blew up and everything.
Oscar nominated for
Oscar
Bridesmaids.
nominated. And then there's like maybe like I think 2 other movies that don't come to mind off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's like a couple other movies where I'm like, I enjoy watching her. But then you get all these string of other movies where it's just the same shtick over and over again.
Yes.
Where if you're getting a Melissa McCarthy movie, she's gonna pratfall. She's going. She's gonna pratfall. She's gonna weirdly on a rant kind of tell someone off, whether cursing or not. She's gonna tell somebody off in a weird rant.
Right.
She's gonna threaten someone with some comedic level of violence.
Yeah.
You're kind of expecting that.
Yeah. Melissa McCarthy. That's what Melissa McCarthy does.
Yeah. And she does it really good sometimes, and then other times it's just okay. It needs to be something else, and you gotta pull out some other tricks.
Here's an upside to being a well-known comedic performer, actor, actress. I think that like at a certain level, you're gonna have people who love you no matter what you do. You're gonna have name recognition. You're gonna get cast in a bunch of stuff. You'll occasionally get cast in some roles where you'll get a lot of acclaim, right? I mean, even, Bridesmaids aside, we also have Melissa McCarthy starred in another really well-regarded movie of the past decade, which was Can You Ever Forgive Me?
Oh, great movie, yeah.
Yeah. And I think she might have got nominated for an Oscar for that. No, she didn't.
Everyone was upset that she didn't get nominated.
That's right.
I remember that, yeah.
Did she get nominated for a Golden Globe at least?
I don't think so. I don't think she got nominated for anything.
I know that there were a couple.
She didn't win anything.
She didn't win anything for that.
But I remember everyone was upset that she was nominated for an Oscar at least.
Right, and I heard she was really good in that.
Yeah, it was great.
Emmy Award nominee, I think, winner for SNL.
And SNL, she shows off her sketch chops, and it's amazing.
Yeah. Great comedic sketch performer, great comedy character performer. The downside, though, to when you become like a known quantity is that you're going to wind up doing a bunch of dog shit.
Yeah.
Because people just know that you're going to be like, they're going to go see a Melissa McCarthy movie, right? Mm-hmm. They know there's going to be an audience for a Melissa McCarthy movie no matter what. And unfortunately, I think the audience for this Melissa McCarthy movie is not the audience of a normal Melissa McCarthy fan base.
Yes.
I have a feeling the Melissa McCarthy fan base is more in the fans of like, I'm so glad I got to see Spy. I'm so glad I got to see Bridesmaids.
Great.
I loved Spy.
Bridesmaids great. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she's in the Happytime Murders and they're like, oh, Melissa McCarthy, I love her. And then they sneak a bottle of rosé into the film with their gals. And then they see a 5-minute sequence of Puppet come. Mm-hmm. And guess what?
They're fans. They're blown away.
I hate to say it, but I disagree with that notion.
I will get you on the side of Puppet Come, Jay.
I think that's a tall order.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't know if you're going to pull that
We'll
off.
figure it out. We'll see.
But I will say this. I do think that Melissa McCarthy did as good as she could given what she had. I don't think the problem with this movie is Melissa McCarthy. I think that seeing that she won the Worst Actress award at the Razzies, I can't say about Life at the Party. I've never seen it, but this, I think it's not her fault because they told her, hey, so we're going to have you do a scene where you snort up a bunch of glitter like it's cocaine, but it's sugar because you have a puppet liver. And that means that you can snort sugar like a puppet because that's their drug. Is this making sense to you, Melissa? No? Just do it anyway. Just go big. Pretend it's cocaine. You got that? And she did that.
Yeah.
And she did a pretty good job of that.
Yeah.
But it's not her fault that entire concept was pitched to her and said, this is what you're doing, action.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, like I mean a lot of the concepts are good. It's just execution.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's all execution. How she was directed too, because you have Brian Henson, Jim Henson's son, directing this movie, and he's directed plenty of other movies. Most of the main cast though are Muppets.
Right. He also, I don't think his directing experience extended beyond puppet stuff.
Yeah.
Like he actually directed Muppet Christmas Carol, Muppet Treasure Island.
Two of the best Muppet movies.
I love Muppet Christmas Carol.
It's great.
It's an incredible movie.
Michael Caine as Ebenezer Scrooge.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're only directing one actor in that.
Everybody else are Muppets.
Yeah. In this, it's a split, which is not his wheelhouse. Unfortunately.
And I think also like they were making a big deal that this is the Jim Henson Company making a rated R puppet movie. I don't think they can really I don't think they can technically call it a Muppet movie because they're not Muppets.
Agreed.
But they're making a rated R puppet movie, and they got so excited about like this is what we're doing. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be so good. And then they they just dropped the ball on in terms of like, all right, well, how do we? It still needed to be charming.
Yeah,
and it just was not charming. And everybody, not even just my issue isn't just Melissa McCarthy either. Joel McHale, not funny, does not give a good delivery
funny in this movie.
Stanley from The Office, I don't know.
Leslie David Baker,
he comes
also
in,
not funny in this movie.
He comes in, he says his lines, but he can deliver those lines funnier.
Yes.
Every one of those lines, if he gave a little bit of Stanley Hudson in there, it probably would be funnier.
Yeah.
Maya Rudolph, who I think right now is having like this crazy big renaissance for herself in the recent years. This movie, she's not a funny line anywhere in this movie.
It's a real shame.
Her character's not funny at all. There's a point where she pulls out a banana for no reason other than just to eat it and be like, "Where'd you get the banana?" "I got it from your house." "Put it away."
Yeah.
Why was that in the movie?
The funniest thing that Maya Rudolph does in this movie, and I hope this was improvised, was when she. I hate how many times I've said puppet cum on this episode, but it's the funniest thing she does is where she has the spray bottle and she sprays Joel McHale's shirt because he's got cum on it, and she wipes it off and she goes, "Yeah, I had a little something, a little something on your shoulder." It's so funny. But it's a throwaway joke. It's so understated.
The subtle jokes work.
This movie should have been more subtle, which is tough to do with a puppet, R-rated puppet comedy.
I had said this to Ben when he was asking me questions and everything. That my main critique of it is that it was both weirdly trying too hard and not trying hard enough.
Yeah,
it was in this weird, like there are moments where it's like, oh, they're really trying hard, and it's not working.
Yeah,
they're not trying hard enough, and nothing's working.
Right.
So they could not find that middle ground of like, all right, here we go. We're even the middling out. They couldn't find it.
They couldn't find it. I want to ask you, this movie's been in development for a long time. It's been in development for about 8 years. Or I guess it from the time that it started, 8 years until it was released. It was officially started filming in like April 2016. So,
oh wow.
Oh no, sorry. April 2017. So it took almost 10 years for this to get made.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, it was started with Cameron Diaz as the lead.
Okay.
Cameron Diaz was going to be Melissa McCarthy. Then Katherine Heigl entered talks to replace Cameron Diaz. And then
Why is this list getting worse?
And then Jamie Foxx entered negotiations to star in the film. And then it was revealed that Melissa McCarthy signed on to film instead. Now, my question is, do you think any of those other three performers who I named, Jamie Foxx, Katherine Heigl, Cameron Diaz,
first off, take Katherine Heigl off the table.
Fair. Good. Correct.
Cameron Diaz, I don't really have faith that she would have brought anything better than what Melissa McCarthy brought. I just don't think she would have like.
She's not as big or bombastic in a way that Melissa McCarthy can pull off.
Yeah,
Cameron Diaz, I've never seen her go like broad in a palatable way.
Yeah, Jamie Foxx though, I feel like that's a good like solid coin flip with like you're like, ooh, I think I just flipped a two-sided coin with heads on it. So I think we might be good.
I've never watched Beat Shazam, but I hear Jamie Foxx makes Beat Shazam amazing.
Shazam?
Yeah.
The
TV show?
Yeah. This game show, yeah.
You know, where you try and beat Shazam. Great concept. Hollywood, so original, wonderful.
Find this on Pinterest.
This movie, I think it would have been better with Jamie Foxx, but I don't know how much better.
Yeah, same.
It's still
because again, I think a
bad.
lot of it, like I put a little bit of hate on Melissa McCarthy just because I'm kind of just tired of seeing the same shtick. But a lot of it does come down to like the direction and the writing. And I think a lot of the problems with the movie is just the direction wasn't solid. The direction, I don't think the direction had
a direction.
Yeah, direction.
Hey-o.
I don't think they knew where they're going.
Hi-oh.
And then the writing was just like it felt like someone was just saying to themselves like, "That's funny."
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good line.
But the downside too is like, in addition to all of it, like all of the moments where you're like, that's funny. If a puppet said that would be super funny.
Yeah.
All of the times where that happened, they also completely, it seems like, forgot to incorporate the original pieces that they laid out at the very beginning of the movie of like, hey, we're also doing a race commentary. Hey, we're also mapping it over a film noir. Mm-hmm. Hey, we have all this other stuff that we're still obligated to do from a storytelling perspective that we're just gonna throw out the window.
Yeah, and this is the charm of like a Muppet movie.
Yeah.
Let me break down the science of a Muppet movie.
Please.
But the charm of the Muppet movies and why they're entertaining for everybody and why they're especially for adults and why it could have worked for this is that again, nobody acknowledges that they're puppets.
Mm-hmm.
They are Muppets, but that's their group. That's like, oh, we're part of the Muppets. Oh, okay, that's it's like, oh, we're part of the Three Stooges. That's like that. But they're not like a separate entity of like race or anything. It's just Fozzie Bear is a bear. He's not a puppet bear.
He's just a bear.
Kermit Frog is a frog, not a puppet frog.
Right.
Nobody. Gonzo is a whatever, not a
Gonzo's
puppet.
a Gonzo.
Yeah. And then you have the human characters who are never really the main focus of any of the real of the movies. Really, they're there to kind of not even get the biggest laughs. They're there to almost react to the insanity of the Muppets, of the puppets, of everything else that's going around. With the exception of Muppet Treasure Island, because Tim Curry is a national treasure, and can just line delivery alone will just make me smile.
Right.
But like any other Muppet movie, the charm, the funny, the humor of it all with the actual human actors is them playing it seriously with Muppets.
Right.
But
that's why A
Muppets,
Muppet Christmas Carol works so well.
because it's Michael Caine of all people too.
Michael fucking Caine as Scrooge.
Listen here, Kermit. I'm gonna take a shilling away from you. Oh, come on, Scrooge. Don't be a dick.
It's great. It's so great.
Yeah. And
it takes that story and it's just all the characters are just the Muppets.
Yeah.
And Michael Caine's never like, you fucking frog. You little frog cunt. That's never what he does.
you're married to a pig, You're married to a right pig. No, I don't mean literally. I mean literally and metaphorically. She's a fucking pig.
Never happens like that. She's just a lady.
Yeah.
And the ghost is just a ghost. And Marley and Marley are just guys who
Statler
and Waldorf.
But that's also the thing. If you're taking like an established story too, it's not these characters. It's not just throwing these characters in. It's like The Simpsons, like with the Treehouse of Horrors. Mm-hmm. They're parodying stuff, but it's still the characters playing these other characters.
Right.
It's Kermit. It's not just Kermit. Kermit is playing Cratchit. Miss Piggy is playing Mrs. Cratchit.
Right.
I haven't seen the movie in a long time. Fozzie Bear is playing Fozziewig.
Fezziwig.
Fozziewig.
Fozziewig. Fezziwig.
Yeah.
You've got Rizzo and Gonzo.
They're the weird...
Gonzo's Charles Dickens. And Rizzo is helping him out.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just referred to them as the narrators.
But he literally says, I think he says I'm Charles Dickens at the beginning of the movie. Now that if I remember correctly, and I will be watching Muppet Christmas Carol again soon. It is.
Oh, it's the holidays. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he starts off by saying I'm Charles Dickens.
And that's the funniest part. That's one of the funniest things is that he's just like, hey, this is who I am, and then it's just like, all right, cool.
So I think
we'll roll with that.
If we're going with that, they should make like Chinatown. But everybody's puppets. Except for, I guess, Faye Dunaway or Jack Nicholson. Can you imagine?
It'd be funny watching a young Jack Nicholson slap around Miss Piggy.
Yeah.
My sister, my daughter, my sister, my daughter. She's my sister and my daughter.
Oh, my God. I don't know if we're going to top that on the show.
I got more voices. Don't worry about it.
I have a question for you. I mean, now I have my prediction of what I think they should have done instead. But what do you think they should have done? What would have made this movie better for you if you could change it?
Make Avenue Q.
Simple. They haven't made that at any point. I don't know why they haven't.
I see I think the issue is like you do have to kind of put it because it is kind of more of a. At this point, it is more of a period piece musical because you got Gary Coleman, who's no longer with us.
Oh, right.
It does kind of lean more towards like around the 2008s, 2000, like just kind of after like everyone's realizing like, oh shit, our degrees mean nothing, kind of thing. and it, it kind of does relate to. It kind of makes more sense to do it now because like a lot of it is like these people who are out on their own after college. They don't know what to do next. They don't know how to be adults and this and that, including puppets.
Right.
And they should make it a movie. I don't. It could be done.
It was originally conceived as a TV show before it became a musical.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It was supposed to. Yeah, I remember the original. I remember watching when I was in high school. I remember watching a documentary. They were following Wicked, Avenue Q, Caroline or Change, and Boy George's Taboo as they were all going on Broadway, and kind of like the trials and tribulations that they had to deal with going to Broadway. It was just following these 4 shows, and then surprise, surprise. I mean, Wicked gets beat out by Avenue Q for a Tony. So make this Tony Award winning musical into a movie.
I don't know why they never did
great.
it.
But they're making Wicked first. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
They ridiculous. Well, Julian, I will find it in my heart to forgive you for making me watch this movie. Mostly because you just did a great Michael Caine, and you also did a great Jack Nicholson Chinatown impression. I think that's better than the entirety of the Happytime Murders.
I don't even think I did Jack, but I appreciate it.
I don't know if you did. You're right.
I did miss Piggy getting slapped by Jack Nicholson.
Sorry, it's just the level of like gravitas you put in the performance there.
I go all out.
Which is why you should watch Julian's new special.
Hey.
Hint, hint, wink, wink.
Hey.
Which is on YouTube.
On my YouTube channel. It's on all my any of my social medias, which is now just TikTok and Instagram. I got rid of my Twitter.
You jumped ship.
I jumped ship. I was never really using it, and when I did use it, nobody gave a shit
Fair.
for what I was posting. So I was just like, I might as well just get off this thing. But yeah, Instagram, Twitter, everything is Julian F Comedy. My special is all linked in on everything there. My website, it's all on there. Julian Fernandez 30. Yeah, watch it.
Check out Julian's stuff. And you can follow me at Diet J on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all the stuff. At Blockbusting Pod on all the social media platforms. If you like the show, consider subscribing on Patreon. The money goes back into making the show happen. We do have costs. I am paying for those costs out of pocket. I would love to have y'all fine listeners help subsidize the show so that way we can do everything we can to keep making it better and I don't go broke in the process. Because guess what? This is expensive. Anyway, you guys don't need to watch the Happytime Murders. It's not anywhere on streaming. Don't find it.
Oh yeah, I rented it for last night. I was just like, I'm gonna give it a refresher, and I was trying to find it, and I rented it for like $2.99. That's the worst $3 ever spent, and I have an OnlyFans account. All right.
Certainly did not illegally download this movie, and I tell you
so
what,
much better.
I'm so glad that there's no money that exchanged hands and to get my copy of this movie. Julian, thanks again.
Thank you.
This has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, voices.